Welcome back, everybody, to the Winning in Life Without Losing Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Pete. I'm very excited today to have a guest join us again. It's been a while since we've had a guest on the show. And if you remember a few episodes ago, I talked about confessions of an Enneagram. And so what I'm doing is this little experiment where we're going to interview every one of the Enneagram numbers, someone in my life that represents one of the Enneagram numbers. We're going to interview them and try to get them to confess to murder. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to get them to confess. We're going to just get them to kind of share open, honest view of them as that particular Enneagram number. And so today we're going to be talking with my friend Conrad, who's an Enneagram 3. But before I get into that and introduce him to you, I want to remind you that if you're listening to this on any audio platforms, please leave a 5-star review. Don't be stingy with your stars. Don't give me 4, give me all 5. That really helps. And then if you're watching on YouTube, if you can like, subscribe, ring the bell, all those things really help as well. We release content here every Thursday, wherever you're watching or listening to this at. Also on Instagram, you can find me at Dustin Pede. And you can also find out more information about how I can come alongside and help you at dustinpede.com, where I help creatives know themselves, their process, and their team so that they can create greater things together. Whew, that's a lot of stuff. Let's get to our guest. Our guest is the greatest human in the history of humans. I'm just kidding. Second best. Jesus. Okay. Welcome, my longtime friend, Conrad Morgan. What's up, bud?
Oh, just living life, enjoying it day in, day out, just having a good time.
Conrad is really enjoying the attention of this podcast because he's an Enneagram 3, and that's what they like. So when this comes out, make sure you let him know how great he looks and how great of a job he did. But we are going to dive right into some confessions of who Conrad is. But I've known Conrad for, I guess, over 10 years at least. He was on my team at the church that I served at in Indiana for many years and is one of my closest friends, and we continue to do life together. And I love this guy so much. And I'm so thankful that he's willing to just kind of open himself up and be vulnerable with you guys. We've had a lot of talks recently just about the benefit of opening yourself up and just being able to say this is truly how I'm feeling and just going to get those thoughts out there, and how helpful that's been for both of us over the past few years. And so I'm super excited to have him on here today. My friend Jackie Brewster put out this amazing kit. I'm just going to plug her every time we do this, but it's called the Enneagram Essentials. It's 125 cards for self-awareness and connection. And that's what, if I can get it to zoom in, that's what that is right there. So I highly encourage you to check that out. But I'm going to be reading, she has a little pamphlet in the beginning of this box. It's just a brief kind of introduction to each of the Enneagram numbers. And so I figured before we dive in with Conrad and we start asking him these really tough questions, that I would just read what she has written here for Enneagram 3s. So Enneagram 3s are known as the determined achiever. 3s are charming, as you can tell by Conrad already, driven, competent, and encouraging people who measure their self-worth through external achievements. They feel as though they are only as good as their next accomplishment. Adaptable and highly competitive, they are driven to succeed and will seek accolades, excellence, and success in many areas. Ultimately, they want to feel valuable and worthwhile. They desire to be affirmed and to distinguish themselves and to be admired. Hopefully you feel affirmed by my intro of you already. So let's dive right in. So let's start with just kind of big broad strokes here. Conrad, what's something that most people wouldn't know about you as an Enneagram 3?
Yeah, that's it's kind of a tough question. Especially if you're familiar with the Enneagram numbers, especially the intro that you just gave, the summary of what an Enneagram 3 is, the attributes that most people are going to know me by. If you know me and you really know me, like you've spent time with me, you've invested effort, like we've spent authentic moments together, you're going to see a different side of me than what most people are going to see. And so if I think of the phrase most people, they're not going to know that the struggle that I have day in and day out with exactly what you just talked about, having those external accolades and achievements being the driving force in who I am.
Hmm.
And life is not this, this linear path of constant success. There's going to be setbacks. There's going to be things that take away from that level of happiness that I feel as an Enneagram 3, because I have to go through valleys just like anyone else. And
Hmm.
so most people aren't going to realize how heavy that burden is to carry when, if you're not producing, you're not achieving, you're not seeing those outward successes, how heavy that feels.
Hmm.
And how detrimental it can be to mental health, spiritual health, emotional health, and how it impacts me, in other areas of life. And so things get heavy. Life is hard sometimes, and I think the biggest struggle with being an Enneagram 3 is being able to have that moment of rest and being able to lean into it. And so I think if there's something most people don't know about me, is finding rest and relaxing, truly relaxing as a human in a season of life, not just on a given day. It's a real struggle for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that because most threes that I know, if you've heard me talk about Enneagram before, you've heard me say that some of my favorite people are threes because of how driven and motivated they are, and because I'm a four, but I wing three a lot, predominantly. I'm just attracted to that. I like being around that. I like being around that. But I appreciate your vulnerability, Conrad, because what you're saying is not something that most healthy threes would care, or unhealthy threes would care to admit, that they actually do need rest. And so, with that in mind, how do you? This is like the big scary question of all my questions that I have today. But like, how does, if you could just put me in your frame of mind for a second, for just a few minutes, how do you actually view the world around you? How do you see it as interacting with you?
I agree with your assessment of this question.
Mm.
It is a big, scary question, and there's so many ways to answer it. The first thing that comes to mind when I view the world is I view opportunity, just first and foremost.
Mm.
In almost any way, shape, or form, there's always something that you can do. There's always something that you can push for, to be good at, to strive for, to uh, to find excellence in. Opportunity is everywhere. If you're not looking, you'll never see it. And I think so many people miss that in life. I don't necessarily want to blame and put victim mentality out there. I feel like
Right.
it's out there. So many people talk about it, and they talk about the impacts, and like having a growth mindset, being the opposite of that. But I think there is a lot of truth to that. And the way I see the world is very opportunistic. There's so many things you can do. And it's just finding what you want to do and then just trying to drive into that and finding success there. I think is the hard part. And so many people miss out on finding opportunity all around them because of perceived limitations, because of the lack of an internal driving force, or even fear. Like they don't want to fail, they don't want to
Right.
take chances, and they miss out on opportunities all around them. And so I think if I could just generally, summarize how I view the world, is it's a green pasture that's just waiting to be created into something else, right? Or
Man,
transformed into something else. That's probably how I would answer that to start.
I love that answer. I think that resonates with most threes that I know. I love the positive outlook that that gives. So, uh, let me just go a little bit more broad stroke. We're gonna get to some rapid fire questions here in a second. But why do you really? Maybe you don't love it, and if you don't love it, I would love to know why you don't love it. But if you do love being an Enneagram three, why do you love being an Enneagram three? Why do you like that?
I think when I'm a healthy 3, when I find myself being the healthiest of who I am, and I'm in true alignment, my spirit, my emotions, my mindset, when things are clicking, the internal drive to succeed and to push myself, I, I get so much satisfaction out of being able to actually achieve things and see things come to fruition.
Hmm.
I absolutely love that. When I can create something, or achieve some new level in life in whatever area I'm trying to push on, um, I absolutely love having that internal drive to be able to do so. It makes me feel like I own something in this world. I have some control. One thing I've learned in the last few years is that we really don't have a lot of control over a lot of things in our life. Most people have a
Mm.
perceived control, and even myself, like, but so many things are outside of our control. We can control our attitude, our emotions, our actions, our behaviors. Those are the things that we can control. Almost anything else outside of that, we have no control over, fundamentally. And when I'm able to achieve, when I'm able to produce something that I think is valuable to the world, it makes me feel like I have a little bit of control, a sense of control where I'm actually like, grabbing life by the horns and just, manhandling it to the ground. And it's for me to achieve, it's for me to accomplish and build the life I want. And
Mm.
so being an Enneagram 3 and having that internal drive to be able to do those things, it makes me feel like I'm on cloud nine. So
Yeah, like you can do anything.
yeah, yeah, the world is
Yeah,
my oyster, I think is the
yeah,
way some people have phrased it. Terrible
I like that.
cliches.
No,
So
I like that. I got a few rapid fire questions. I'm gonna give you these, and I just want you to the first thing that comes to mind. A couple of them will have follow up questions, but first one is: Are you thoughtful or whimsical?
whimsical,
And how are you whimsical? What ways?
I don't like having a schedule. I like to be able to fly by the seat of my pants, and a new idea that comes to mind, a new desire. I want to go all in right then at that moment. I don't want to wait. I just
Mm,
want to, just go, 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 in whatever new way feels natural in that moment.
okay. Are you selfish?
Sometimes,
How so?
uh, especially as an Enneagram 3 and being driven to succeed and having that outward appearance of success. Uh, there are definitely times where if I'm not really intentional with what I do, to combat that selfishness, the desire to achieve and appear successful will trump anything else in my life.
Mm,
And that can cause problems if it's not harnessed correctly. And I think in
okay.
a selfish way, I think that I put those needs that I have inherently as a person above other things in my life. So I think in
Mm,
that way, I'm more selfish.
okay. What do you envy?
Other people that are more successful than me,
Why?
I wish I had a really thoughtful answer for you. I've always looked at people that were successful. My entire life, I've looked at this, or looked at it this way. People that are successful, they just, I don't know, for some reason, it really stands out to me that that's what I need to achieve in life. That's the kind of
Mm,
person I need to be to feel loved, wanted, desired, whatever other, verb that you want to put in there. And so when I see other people that are more successful than me, it gives me a goal, one, to look at and to strive for, that resonates with me as an Enneagram 3, but also I think that it gives me an unhealthy drive to always feel like I have to produce and achieve more. And so I think that, I envy the success because that's what I want in life, that's what I need
yeah.
in life to feel, the way I should feel, by nature, um, but yeah, it's not always positive.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. What do you thrive on?
Other people's energy. If other people bring energy, I mean, I'm gonna match that and exceed it. If there are other people that are lethargic and not really wanting to do things, I'm gonna I'm not gonna really resonate well with that. At
Mhm.
least not in the longer term. And so yeah, if I'm thriving on something, I want energy, I want high energy, I want inspiration, I want creative, nature, that kind of thing.
Um, have you dove in at all to the wings, and do you know which of the two wings of a three, either a four or a two, is your predominant wing?
My predominant one, I guess stepping back, I have dove into this, a little bit, not as much as I would like to have, but I'm familiar enough with the Enneagram 2 and Enneagram 4 and how those produce, or manifest themselves in my life. I'm predominantly a wing 2, especially when I'm healthy. A wing 2 is exactly where I'm at. Being super, energetic, extroverted, sociable. I think you could even describe me as the life of the party. Especially if I'm really leaning into that, and allowing myself to be authentic and just let those things come out of me naturally. That's generally where I'm at. And then being able to feed into other people and see them succeed as well is another aspect of that wing too that I really see, coming out. Being able to focus on them and what their needs are and things like that. And so that's definitely where I feel more naturally drawn. There are times and seasons of life where Wing Four really stands out to me, and especially more recently, being able to focus on the internal growth and individuality that I need in life, especially more recently. Not focusing on producing, but focusing on self growth and being able to push myself just for the sole purpose for me, not for any of the external accolades. I see that
Mhm.
starting to become more predominant, but
Yeah,
more traditionally, the wing two is where I've kind of leaned into most of my life.
got it. What I feel like as humans that are honest with ourselves, we would say that there's always something that we feel, whether we focus on it or not. There's something that we feel about ourselves that might be defective or incomplete. What is that for you as an Enneagram 3?
I think the biggest defect that I feel is not being able to let my true self show.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
hard. Being vulnerable is hard. Shit, you make me feel that way now. You might have to
I
bleep
mean,
that,
it's
but
called confessions.
it is. Uh, I mean, that's apt. It's a very apt name for this.
It's not the brick wall of an Enneagram 3.
Yeah,
It's not the guess who.
yeah. The desire for the external validation and achievement, it it's exhausting,
Hmm.
and being able to shed that outer layer and let me, everything about me, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it show through is almost impossible some days.
Hmm.
And so I feel in that way, I really wish I could change that about me, where it felt more natural and it felt like it was something that was easy to do. Because without that vulnerability, without that authenticity, finding deep and meaningful connections in life is always going to be hard because people aren't going to really know you. They're going to know the you that you put out there for them. And and as an Enneagram 3, it's very easy to produce a lot of those yous that you put out there to the world.
Hmm.
Depending on the situation, depending on the company, the people, whatever situation you're in, you can create these new faces of who you are. They're all authentic in some way. They're all still me, but it's a curated version of who I am. And I think the defective nature of not being able to shed that and just let my true self show. It's definitely something I would like to change.
Hmm. I mean, that's a great segue into the next question because you talked about how you struggle sometimes to be your true self around people. So, how do you best interact with people?
Uh, Honestly, I feel like if I've got people around me, especially people of real integrity, real energy, real passion, I those are the kind of people I want around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time. Because it's
Yeah.
going to make me feel inspired to get up and do something with my life and not just be lethargic or lazy. It makes me feel like I can do anything I want to do. And so, like, if I'm talking about the best things for me, people, 100%. I am a social butterfly in so many ways. If
Yeah.
I'm stuck being alone for any real length of time, it starts just tearing me down. It gets me into an unhealthy state if I'm not around people often enough.
Gotcha. Well, my last question for you, and then I'll open it up to if there's anything that we didn't get to that you want to kind of confess while we have this mode of communication. What's the most important thing to you as an Enneagram 3?
The appearance of success.
So
And
more than actual success. So you're telling me that it doesn't even matter if you're successful as long as you appear successful, that's enough for you?
by nature, yes.
Okay. I'm not asking to be demeaning. I'm asking because it's fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the thing I'm most proud of as an Enneagram 3. It
Sure.
is definitely the thing that naturally occurs within me, the thing that is my driving force in so many ways, is for people to look at me, to look at my life, the things I've accomplished, the things I've been able to experience, and say, "I want that." And it's that level of success, it's that level of achievement that that I want in life. I want people to look at that and have that be their driving force. Like, hey, that guy's killing it.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I guess before we close our time, is there anything else that you'd like to get off your chest about being an Enneagram 3?
There's a lot of things to say here. Enneagram, all of them, we've all got our pros, we've all got our cons. Um, as an Enneagram 3, it's a challenge some days. I've referenced it a little bit ago in a couple different ways, right? Being my authentic self in all settings, that's tough. The overly competitive nature of being an Enneagram 3, I know everyone has experienced this at some point in their life, but the game of Monopoly, right? Let's just use that as a great example, right? No one wants to play Monopoly with an Enneagram 3. I promise you, you're not going to want to play with me. The overly competitive nature of that, I can talk my way into and out of deals and succeed at the game of Monopoly. But if for
You
some
don't want Boardwalk.
reason, no, not
Everybody's
at all.
walking on it. It's crowded.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be there. They're going to look at you. They're going to be staring at your business, right? It's all those things. And so eventually, I will win the game. But there are times where if the dice don't roll my way, man, I am not fun to be around on the game of Monopoly. It's not so much that I will flip the board on the table, but I definitely have
Want
the
to.
feeling like I want to, right?
Yeah.
I become a real sore loser in a lot of ways. And so, like, as an Enneagram 3, right, I'm sure almost everyone's experienced somebody like that. And the one thing I would say is give that person some grace because they're going to need it. And so if you experience people that are just so driven to succeed, you'll lean into the things that they actually need, which is somebody to allow them to be vulnerable, to be real, authentic, and just being a judgment free, safe space. So it's more of I'd almost say a PSA for everybody out there that has Enneagram threes in their life. Know that we struggle just like everybody else. We just struggle in a different way, and being our vulnerable true selves is an area where most of us are going to struggle. So allowing us to be that, be authentic, and not be judged for it is going to help us be the healthiest version of ourselves.
I love it. I love it. Well, thanks so much, man, for joining us today. I want to point everybody to a couple of resources. I'm not a certified Enneagram coach. I just find it fascinating to talk about as humans of how we're wired and how God has made each one of us unique in his own way. And so I want to point you to some people that are way more educated and certified on all the things Enneagram more than I am. My good friend Jackie Brewster, you can find her online or anywhere. It's Enneagram with JB. .com or at Enneagram with JB, anywhere you're looking at. Also, Beth McCord is who I've learned a lot from early on in this journey. She's at yourenneagramcoach.com, and kind of the book that most people will point you to really kind of dive into this, if you want to read a book about it, is The Road Back to You. It's a book by Ian Morgan Cron. I want to point you to that as well. So, with that being said, we're going to be back over the next month or so with more of these confessions. We're getting the rest of them lined up right now. I think Conrad was the most eager in getting this over and done with. So,
Overachievers right here.
Overachiever. He's first one. So, but yeah, I'm super excited about these, and we'll continue to just kind of explore what it really means to be each of these Enneagram numbers on the Winning in Life Without Losing Your Mind podcast.